But now that an American president in the shape of Donald Trump has said that we should, as a country, we have.
Can I deal with the question for the
it's not a judgment on whether or not Donald Trump is right or wrong, good or bad. It is a judgment that Donald Trump, having asked us to do something, that even you, Mehdi, says is probably maybe just likely to make us safer, that it's happened as a result of Donald
Hasn't happened.
Trump.
That's the whole point.
Okay.
It hasn't happened.
I'm going to
yes, it has.
a question that was
you can't deny your own words of 90 seconds ago. Mehdi, you said you want to have your cake and eat it. Now you are eating your own words, not a cake.
Well, first of all, let's go on words. NATO has not, as a whole, reached 5%, as you well know.
Mehdi Hassan, we have heard and seen him many of times. Not one of the bestest of friends of Israel or the Jewish people. Let's watch this debate and you get to know him a little better or different. And we'll discuss it afterwards. Kindly subscribe to our channel so a little bit of light will push away a lot of darkness.
I said it's not a good thing if Germany or South Korea or Poland get nuclear weapons. And another one of my many arguments you didn't actually address and are now misrepresenting. We're getting more countries going for nukes because they're saying it. The Polish government is a pro-American government. They're saying we can't trust the US anymore. We're going to have to invest in our own nuclear defense. I don't think nuclear proliferation is a good thing. And I think Trump is encouraging it by abandoning allies. That was the point I was making.
And what about more NATO spending? Good thing,
well,
bad thing?
It's a great question. I don't know what I think about that, to be honest, because on the one hand, I'm a good old lefty who's not a fan of military spending. On the other hand, I'm not a lefty who pretends that Vladimir Putin isn't a threat to Ukraine. And therefore, it's an interesting dilemma there. I do agree with Michael that European governments should be doing more to take care of their own neighborhood, both out of moral reasons and strategic reasons, because America can't be relied upon. But again, take a step back. What deal for 5%? They just announced a piece of paper. It's Donald Trump. Show me the results, to quote Michael. Hasn't happened. The Spanish government, multiple other governments have already said, we're not really going to do that. This is all just to suck up to Trump, right? This is all because he wants a Nobel Prize. Every government now realizes you just tell Trump what he wants to hear and he'll leave you alone. The Senegalese prime minister turned up at the White House last week and said, you're great at golf, Mr. President. Why don't you open a golf course in Senegal? They all know how to play this man. It's embarrassing as an American to see your president be so mocked on the international stage.
Do you think that no European country has increased defense
spending? No, I think some will. But let's see the actual 5%.
Well, have any so far?
Again, I'll put it on the record right now. Right now, you can this is on YouTube, watch it wherever you want to watch it. If there is a permanent, enduring ceasefire and peace deal in the Congo, and if there is 5% by NATO, I'll put out a public statement saying, credit to Donald Trump, I was wrong. I don't think either's going to happen, sadly. This is the problem,
that
right?
Wasn't the question Trump, that I asked, or indeed the lady in the audience
No,
asked.
I already said I don't know what my position on that is. I'm torn. I'm genuinely torn. I'm giving an honest answer.
As
a lefty, I'm not a fan of more military spending.
Has Britain increased defense spending? Has France? Has Germany?
Yes.
Good.
Is that only because of Donald Trump?
Yes.
Really?
So Mark Rutte says.
No, but you were in the British government. Do you only do what the US tells you to do? Are you that much of a lapdog?
Well, funnily enough, when I was in the British government, we didn't increase defense spending when an American president said that we should. But now that an American president in the shape of Donald Trump has said that we should, as a country, we have.
Can I deal with the question for the
it's not a judgment on whether or not Donald Trump is right or wrong, good or bad. It is a judgment that Donald Trump, having asked us to do something, that even you, Mehdi, says is probably maybe just likely to make us safer, that it's happened as a result of Donald
Hasn't happened.
Trump.
That's the whole point.
Okay.
It hasn't happened.
I'm going to
yes, it has.
a question that was
you can't deny your own words of 90 seconds ago. Mehdi, you said you want to have your cake and eat it. Now you are eating your own words, not a cake.
Well, first of all, let's go on words. NATO has not, as a whole, reached 5%, as you well know. That people have made pledges and promises. You're a politician. You know you lie. You politicians, not you personally. But you personally, by the way, you personally did just lie and said that I acknowledged Iran's nuclear weapons program. The very opposite. Everyone heard me quote the US Director of National Intelligence who said they were not building nuclear weapons. You can keep saying Iraq war style that they were having WMDs. You tell me.
No. In what world do you imagine they're enriching
for a negotiating posture? They were trying to get back in a deal. You know there was a deal. You know there was a negotiation.
But if it's not going to be a weapon, how can you use it to negotiate? Why were they enriching it? Was this a chemistry set?
Yes,
was this some random scientific curiosity?
I can answer your question if you let me speak.
Enriching it because they want to create missiles.
And
the reason that they have all these rockets aimed at Israel is because they wanted to destroy Israel.
Even though Israel's a country that just bombed Iran.
A country bent on genocide is staring you in the face.
So hold on. Is a speech? Is this another speech, or do we get to respond?
Michael, let Mehdi respond.
A lot there in that little mini speech that you got before you left. Let me ask you this, very quickly. Every intelligence agency in the world says Iran was not building nuclear weapons, including the British intelligence, including US intelligence, including German intelligence. They all said there were no nuclear weapons programs. The IEA said it wasn't a nuclear weapons program. Iran, I can answer your great line about chemistry set. Iran calls itself a nuclear threshold state. It's very open about the fact that it is enriching nuclear energy for a program, but that they have the option to go for a bomb. The point Tulsi Gabbard made, and every predecessor says, is that they weren't going for a bomb. They were engaged in negotiations in Muscat, Oman with Trump. The irony is, if Trump had gotten that deal with Iran, I'd be on your side of the table. He decided to blow up that deal, undermine it. You have spent 45 minutes avoiding the fact that William Hague, the former foreign secretary, your former leader, has said what I'm saying, which is that they're more likely to go for a weapon now because we bombed them, blew up the IEA negotiations. You don't want to address that, probably because it's easier to call me an Iranian stooge rather than William Hague. I wonder why. We can speculate as to why, to borrow a line. And I'm sorry, you keep quoting NATO. No, you get the very long answer. You keep quoting NATO.
Yeah.
The IAEA was right about Iraq. You were wrong. They're right about Iran. You are wrong.
Mike.
Simply saying I am right and you are wrong.
You quoted Mark Rutte, a guy who sends sycophantic texts to
No.
I'm quoting the IAEA.
I absolutely stand by that. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm going to invite people to draw certain
What about William Hague?
Hang on.
I disagree with William on this.
But why? Why do you think he said what he said?
I don't know. Sometimes people of goodwill can disagree. But what I do know is that you don't enrich uranium as a hobby. It's not like
so why did US intelligence say they're not building a weapon?
It's not like growing geraniums
no,
on
hold on. Why did US intelligence say they're not building a weapon?
Also,
why were they coming to Muscat?
You don't pay for Hamas to launch an attack. You don't support Hezbollah in its murderous attempts to kill people in Israel and worldwide. You don't subsidize the Houthis in trying to destroy world trade because you are actually a peace-loving people. You don't have your supreme leader say that their mission is to destroy Israel forever.
Hold on, you said
if you are merely acquiring this uranium
Only 30
for
seconds. I want to take some more questions.
disinterested scientific
I just find it a bit
curiosity. What I find curious is that you have all this uranium in front of you. And Mehdi merely says, it's a diplomatic tool.
You've said the G word plenty of times.
Very briefly. Come on, Mehdi.
You wrote an op-ed last year saying the Israeli military should be given a Nobel Peace Prize. A military that killed 6 kids lining up for water yesterday, killed 9 kids lining up for nutritional supplements last Thursday, a military that's being investigated at the ICJ for genocide and at the ICC for war crimes. So it's a bit rich for you to lecture anyone else on human rights or war crimes when you're supporting a genocide in Gaza.
I want to take some more questions.
I merely wish to say that, for the avoidance of doubt, and I don't think there is any, Israel is not carrying out a
Most genocide scholars disagree with you. Most genocide scholars disagree with you, Michael. The people who study genocide disagree with you.
That is a very big statement, and I want to discuss it.
Let me state it again for the avoidance of any doubt.
Okay, we've heard you say it. It's a really big point.
Do you condemn the killing of 6 kids yesterday lining up for water by the Israeli military?
I condemn the loss of all innocent lives.
All lives matter. He can't do it. He can't condemn the Israeli military.
I want to take a couple more questions, Michael.
I think that it is the right of the Israeli Defense Force to defend
to kill 6
the
kids.
only democracy.
To kill 6 kids lining up for water.
Can we take a couple of questions, and we're going to, I promise, come back to this. We have to. A couple of questions up there.
So I'm sorry to change gear and move away from Israel-Gaza, but it's a question about, it's probably a question to Michael, which is, were you tempted to take the approach with this question that the US, before Trump, was kind of focused towards a kind of alliance-based, us against them, two poles world, and actually the Trump world is a bit more transactional and a bit more ambiguous, and it's much less clear if there was a nuclear war, who would be on the two sides, and perhaps that might be a safer place.
Okay, and there's a hand up just there upstairs to your right, to your, I can't do this, yes, there.
Mr. Gove, may I ask how you exactly define terrorism, and do you think that according to definition that you're going to give, one kind is worse than the other depending on who carries it out?
Okay, so let's go with the first question first, which is this idea of has this presidency moved away from the government of alliances and allies to a more transactional way of doing things, which actually has perhaps made the world a less safe place. Would you accept that as a thesis, Michael?
I think it is the case that Donald Trump places less faith and confidence in some of the post-war multilateral organizations than some of his predecessors. I don't myself altogether think that that is necessarily a good thing, but I think that it's important, and this is the reason why I chose to participate in this debate, to seek to look at the Trump presidency and the round. It is very easy to find 1,000,001 reasons to dislike Trump, but what it's important for all of us to do is to look clear-eyed at all of his actions in the round. And I don't say with enthusiasm or with a light heart that the world is safer, because some of the things that Trump has done challenge some of my own preconceptions. But I have, I hope, the ability to recognize that even as I disapprove of some of his starting points, I can also look at the effect of some of his actions, and that I have the humility to be able to acknowledge that actually the net effect of those actions is to make the world a safer place than it was under his predecessor, President Biden, and than under most, though not all, Democrat presidents who preceded him.
And that question of terrorism, and then I will come back to genocide.
Again, we could spend forever debating terrorism. On the whole, I take the unconventional view that it's a bad thing. But again, behind that question, there may lie other questions which I'm sure we might explore.
Fair enough. I want to come back, Mehdi, you can come back to that, or I'd like to come back to this conversation that we began. I'm keen to get more questions in, but I would like to come back to this question of genocide. It's clearly one that is very important to this audience. Michael was very clear. He doesn't think what's happening in Gaza is a genocide. You said, I think genocide experts disagree with you. What would be your main line of, how would you counter his statement?
I would say, have you been asleep since October 2023, as we've watched on social media the extermination of a people, the ethnic cleansing of a people, the killing of a people? If you have to only listen to Israeli politicians say the most outrageous things about burning down Gaza, about Amalek, about all of the people being responsible. Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister of Israel, said recently, we are conquering, cleansing, and remaining in Gaza. It will be totally destroyed. We are disassembling Gaza. We'll leave it in ruins without any global precedent. That's the kind of stuff that Michael's come to defend tonight. And look, some of the leading Israeli Holocaust scholars, Michael, Omar Bartov of Brown, Amos Goldberg at the Hebrew University, Raz Siegel, Dr. Shmuel Liederman here in the UK, Israeli Holocaust scholars have come out and said, we didn't think this at the beginning, but we do now think it meets the definition of genocide, what is going on there. And even if you don't want to call it a genocide, Ehud Olmert, on the front page of today's Guardian, former right-wing Prime Minister of Israel, says the plan to concentrate everyone in one place is a concentration camp, his words, not mine, and it would be ethnic cleansing, his words, not mine. So I think at this point, I think it's insane to still be saying Israel has a right to defend itself when they are killing and ethnic cleansing. I mean, the problem, just one last point. The problem for people like Michael, and I debate a lot of people in the West defending Israel, the problem for people like Michael is they make this very, I want to say, good faith defense of Israel, its right to defend itself, but then you just have to listen to what Israeli politicians are saying, and they are throwing Michael under the bus. Like, no, we do want to kill everyone. We do want to get rid of everyone. We do want to conquer Gaza. This isn't about self-defense. Just listen to what Israeli politicians and ministers themselves are saying. Listen to Israel Katz, listen to Bezalel Smotrich, listen to Ben Gvir, listen to Netanyahu. It's on the record. Yeah, listen to Donald Trump and his ethnic cleansing.
Michael, do any of these?
Do you support Donald Trump's ethnic cleansing plan, Michael?
Okay, let's Michael answer.
The first thing that I would say.
Let Michael speak. Let's hear what he has to say.
No, it is emphatically not a genocide. I have to go in just a second, but I've stayed longer.
But please answer
I would have stayed longer
we'll
than I was due to, just because I wanted to say a few words about that. Israel is involved in a conflict, in a war that it did not seek. That conflict began on the 7th of October. When Hamas unleashed an attack on young people who were celebrating at a music festival.
Okay,
The one thing I know about history is that over the last 2 millennia, there have been persistent attempts to wipe out the Jewish people. Those persistent attempts have been relativized, those persistent attempts have been overlooked, those persistent attempts have been justified at different times. And now, what we have is a country, the only democracy in the Middle East, one in which human rights, the rule of law,
Michael, you're a smart
and the
guy.
rights,
You're
and
a
the
smart
rights.
guy. Why can't
Mehdi,
you-
I chose not to interrupt while you were
You've been
outlining
interrupted a few times.
your case, and a belief that every life is precious is defended.
What about the kids killed yesterday?
And
What about all the kids
and
being
it is a
killed, Mike?
country.
Come on, engage with the
It is a
facts.
country which all of its neighbors at different times have tried to crush and destroy. But the spirit of the Jewish people and the example of Israel
But Michael, genuine question. What about the kids who are
will
being killed in
not
Gaza? Do you defend that or
be
not?
crushed either by the views of people in this room or the malevolence of those who directed that assault. All I can say is, I'm Yisroel Chai, Israel lives, and I celebrate that fact. And the fact that Donald Trump, for all of his faults, is on Israel's side, is, in my view, despite the many black marks against him, a point in his favor. Now, there is a black mark against me, which is that I must leave, and I must hand over to a more eloquent spectator contributor than I, Freddie Gray. Freddie doesn't share all of my views, so however angry you are with the views that I've expressed, please don't take them out on Freddie. He's a much more moderate and thoughtful person than I am. But the one thing that I'm very glad that Parallax have allowed me to do today is not just to reflect on the complexity, the moral complexity of foreign affairs, but also to say that the one moral position that I'm proud to take in foreign affairs is my support for the State of Israel. Thank you.
Michael Gove, thank you very much. Mike, thank you very much.
Hello. Do you have a microphone? Does he need a
Oh,
microphone?
you're not mic'd up.
There's not-
They will. No, you do actually. There's one here. Look, here we go. Here we go. You can have that one.
Hello.
Thank you very much to Michael Gove, who gamely took on your points. Mehdi, Michael makes the point that this question of timelines, when do you begin this conflict, the sense of difference from, is it 1948 or is it October the 7th? And for many people, that's a critical point, and the defense of the State of Israel.
So-
it is something which is discussed, overlooked, disagreed upon. Where would you land?
So normally I would make a very strong argument for why we should talk about 1948, 1967. I would talk about what happened before October the 7th. For example, in 2023, even before October the 7th, a record number of Palestinians were killed in the West Bank. There was not a ceasefire on October the 7th, as is nonsensically peddled. But for the purpose of tonight's debate, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter when it started. It doesn't matter who started it. Just from a purely, what's the motion? Make the world a safer place. And as I said in my opening remarks, it is not safer for the Palestinians right now. And Michael, for all his wonderful rhetoric, would not engage with that specific point. I could sit and bat away everything Michael just said about the history of Israel and only democracy in the Middle East nonsense, but it's all really irrelevant. You'll notice, everyone here notices, everyone watching at home, that he would not engage with the specific war crimes that Israel is committing. When UNICEF and Médecins Sans Frontières and UN and everyone's coming out saying, this is bad, they are killing kids, they are attacking aid workers, to not be able to engage with those specifics. I don't care if you're pro-Israel, pro-Palestine, white, black, blue, I don't care what your politics are. Surely we can all agree that killing kids lining up for water or nutritional supplements is wrong, should be stopped, is a war crime, and is evidence that Trump is not making a safer world for Palestinians. Okay. That is my argument tonight.
I'm going to take some more questions.
Freddie,
Freddie, can I just welcome you, which I didn't do very well. I'm sorry. This is Freddie Gray, deputy editor of The Spectator and US editor of The Spectator, is that right?
That's right.
Yes, welcome to the stage. I'll give you a moment.
For tonight, I'm playing Little Satan after the Great Satan, I suppose. But I do want to say something to Mehdi about Trump in relation to the Middle East. What did you think of the Democratic Party's response to Israel's war in Gaza? Were you satisfied with their attempts to restrain Israel? Do you think they restrained Israel in any way? Do you think Trump has done more or less to restrain Israel?
It's a great question, Freddie, and it's a link to the question for the audience that I didn't take. It's a huge issue in the US, and I'm a Muslim American. In the Muslim community, Arab American communities, there's a lot of division last year about whether to support Kamala Harris and Joe Biden because they were seen as, rightly in my view, being complicit in a genocide. And Joe Biden did oversee the vast majority of Palestinian deaths in Gaza, not Donald Trump. Now, the argument I made, not as a pro-Democratic Party argument, I've been misrepresented. A lot of people have come after me in the US saying, you said vote for Harris. I never said to vote for Harris. What I did say was that Trump will not be better. There were some people who thought, like the gentleman in the audience up there, he's more transactional. You can do a deal with Trump. He'll sit down with Erdogan and MBS and it'll all be worked out. No, I said that's bullshit. Unfortunately, sadly, tragically, I've been vindicated. We have seen Palestinian suffering on an even greater level this year in terms of the starvation, the mass famine, the ethnic cleansing plans, which again, Michael did not engage with. Does he support, Freddie, I don't know, Freddie, if you want to give your position, Donald Trump has said that all the Palestinians must leave and they cannot come back. That is the literal definition of ethnic cleansing. That does not make the world, the region, or Gaza a safer place.
This is rather so troubling when we listen and we hear the conversations. Well, Mehdi has not been any friend of Israel at all, and he's just repeating the same rhetoric, the same propaganda that has been so shallowly sold to so gullible people. Again, using the same words. I mean, have we heard it enough? I mean, using the genocide word, baby killers. And, come on. Aren't you done with that already? I mean, those claims have been spent already and have been debunked as untruth. Yeah, baby killers. Let's talk about baby killers. What happened on October 7, Mehdi? 2023. Who did the baby killers? He doesn't even want to acknowledge who started the war. It does make a difference who started the war. What do you mean it doesn't make a difference who started the war? In all world history, when there's a war, the aggressor, the one who attacks, they are the one who either is going to win or lose the war. In this case, Hamas attacked Israel. And Hamas attacked Israel in the most hideous, barbaric, the most inhumane way possible. In all humanity, we haven't seen such barbaric warfare. Talking about killing babies, do you remember that picture, the image of Mrs. Bibas with her two beautiful redhead kids? She's clenching them. You see the anguish in her face as she's been taken hostage with her two babies in her hands. We can't unsee that image. Those are baby killers. Talking about genocide. What happened on October 7, 2023 was a pure genocide. When some 3,000 terrorists, not only Hamas Palestinians, broke through Gaza border and attacked civilians, innocent civilians, indiscriminately, mothers, fathers, grandparents, teenagers, young boys, men, girls. They went to musical festival, 312 people, just gunned them down and took them hostage, raped them, murdered them, burnt them. The worst crimes against humanity that have ever been committed. And Mehdi just sits there and just brushes it off. And listen, anti-Semitism has been there. We have dealt with it for 3,337 years. And it's nothing different now. And it's shameful because you would think that a person with any level of intelligence would be a little more selective in the words and what they're saying. The reality is the war in Gaza should have never happened. It wouldn't have happened if Hamas didn't initiate the war, if Hamas did not attack Israel. They attacked Israel, and what did they think? What did they think was going to happen? Israel was going to say, oh, okay, we hear you. Did they not expect Israel to retaliate and to rid themselves of this vermin enemy that has hurled thousands of missiles into a neighboring sovereign nation, targeting civilian preschools, hospitals, etc.? Years Israel tolerated the incoming missiles indiscriminately, all hours of day, morning and night from Gaza. In 2005, August 15, Israel gave Gaza away. All the Jews that were living there, some 10,000 of them were expelled. The expulsion of Gaza took place on August 15 in 2005. And what happened? We gave them what they have been wanting. Give us a state, give us a land, give us a country. Well, here it is. Here it is. We gave away Gaza that belonged to Israel, and we gave it to them with the hopes, land for peace. Ariel Sharon, may his soul rest in peace, must be turning over in his grave to see what the end results of his swap, land for peace. There was a myth to even think for a second that by giving away holy land, you'll gain peace. That's never worked for Israel. You don't give away God's land and expect that there's going to be peace. We saw what happened here in Gaza. We gave them this beautiful coastal city that had such great potential that could have been just like any French Riviera. They had all the opportunities. They got billions of dollars of support from all over the world that they could have used for an infrastructure, to build an airport, to build an industry, to build high-rises, to build office buildings, to build schools, to build medical centers, to build sports fields, and to build an industry that could have been thriving just like all the other Arab states that are thriving in the Middle East. They had that opportunity. There was not one Israeli allowed to go into Gaza since then. There was no blockade. There was no nothing. They had Gaza to themselves. So much so that there was no blockade that they seemed to manage to get in millions of arms and build 400 miles of concrete. They seem to have been able to manage to get in. But there's a blockade. There's no blockade. There's no imprisonment. Gaza had the potential to turn into a beautiful, just like Beirut used to be. But yet, what did they choose? They chose death over life. They chose destruction over construction. They chose to destroy instead of building. And yet the world, just like Mehdi, seems to side with them and play the victim card. If there's any victim card to be played, it was 1948 when the Jewish people returned home to Israel after surviving the Holocaust. Every single person lost their whole family. Everyone came to Israel devastated, just broken emotionally, physically, spiritually, psychologically. But they did not play the victim card. When the pioneers of Israel arrived in 1948, they rolled up the sleeves, the sweat to the brow. They toiled the earth. They worked hard to turn this deserted, desolate land into a powerhouse, into a world-class, first-world country. Yes, Israel did that from the ashes of the Holocaust. The Palestinians had the same opportunity in 2005. They had 20 years to rebuild and build a beautiful statehood. And once again, they squandered it away. There were 5 times statehood was offered to Palestinians, and they turned it down. The reason is because they're not interested in statehood. They're interested in annihilating the Jewish people from Israel and from the world. Not only Israel, but all the West. And it's still in their charter. Hamas's charter is, their goal is to kill every single Jew and every single Westerner. We are all infidels. We all deserve to die. That's the enemy that we're up against. So now you have seen this debate. You can draw your own conclusions. You can see who's on the right side of history, who's on the wrong side of history. And we hope that you come to the same conclusion, that understanding that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Israel is the only country that is doing everything it can to help humanity. Its inventions, innovations, accomplishments of the last 77 years parallels to no other country in the Middle East. And it continues to be at the cutting edge of medicine and a cutting edge of everything to help humanity, because Israel and the Jewish people have a mandate. Be a light unto the world. And we'll continue being a light unto the world. Just don't try to extinguish it. God bless you. God loves you.